Good evening, everybody. It has been like 2 months since I've gone live, so I know I'm gonna wait a little bit before I start reading because I have not been on the live for such a long time. I can't even remember the last time I was on. I just happened to see on my YouTube that I had not been live, and today, which I've been wanting to go live for a long time, but I've just been like kind of freaking out every time I want to go live, or I'm exhausted and I haven't been able to go live, so I just avoid going live. So I am back on for today because today is Labor Day and I have the day off. I didn't work. I've been up since 4 o'clock in the morning watching the sunrise because my daughter wanted to see the sunrise, so that was an experience. I haven't seen the sunrise, like actually sat there and watched the sunrise in forever, so it's been really good. Today I'm planning to read Proverbs. I believe I'm on Proverbs 17, but I'm checking my notes right now because that's one thing that I need to make sure, because it has been a while. It's been quite a while, and I feel like this is the wrong notebook. No, this is the right notebook. I've been trying to write it down, but honestly, the last time I went live, I don't know what it was. I feel like it wasn't like super far, but I know it was at least 2 months that I haven't been live. Hello, everybody. Hello. There's people. I have been wanting to go live, but again, like I said, it's been crazy. I have been working a lot. I get up really early, and yeah, I think it's Proverbs 17 that I'm on. I've been getting up super early, so I haven't been able to go live because by the time I want to go live, it is like I think the time I was going live was like 9 o'clock at night, so that just doesn't work with my schedule anymore. So my house kind of gets pretty loud, and it's still, the girls are still up now that summer is done officially for school wise. Not done in the sense that it hasn't that has ended, but I have a little bit more of a routine with them. So they've been doing school this past week, and now hopefully I can get into more of a routine, finish my Proverbs, because I've been trying to do Proverbs, I feel like, all year, and it's been crazy. And you guys have been messaging me and saying, when are you gonna go live? When are you gonna go live? And today TikTok was like, you should go live because you're trending right now. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but that was my last motivation to go live. So welcome in, everybody. I'm again doing a Bible read today. I want to do some Disney lives soon. Hopefully I'll do some Disney. Thank you for the likes. Hopefully you get to see me do some Disney lives. I don't know what you guys want to see at Disney. I love going to Disney, and I've been doing a lot of solo trips, so that's why you see a whole lot of Disney videos, and that is what's trending on my page right now, which is very surprising. I didn't think that would be something that would be trending on there, but that's what you guys like. You guys like Disney content, and TikTok is pushing my Disney content like super quick, so I might continue just doing Disney lives. But again, I wanted to finish Proverbs because I only made it like halfway, and I'm still torn. I think it's chapter 17 that I'm on. That's what I'm thinking. But I will go ahead and start. What I do on these lives is I will, thank you for the rose. Thank you, Christian. When I finish this live, I will post it on my YouTube, I'll post it on my TikTok, And I'll do the snippets on TikTok where it would be like the chapters by chapter, and it's on a playlist. So if you are looking for a Bible read, I have John and Psalms and like half of Proverbs. Again, that's one thing that I need to work on is Proverbs. So on these lives, I typically stay on about like 45 minutes. Less than an hour, because TikTok doesn't let me download the videos if it's more than an hour, and I love to pull the content from the videos and put it on my YouTube. It's the full live, so it's our conversations, it's my intro, it's just me rambling, but a lot of people enjoy them. So I thank you guys for coming and listening to me read. It's so much fun. I enjoy reading the Bible, and that has gotten me to read the Bible at least 4 times in the past couple years. And I'm currently, and this is another reason why I haven't been live, I'm currently reading through the Bible with my girls, and we have been doing the chronological Bible. We don't do it every day, so I just mark off the different, because I feel like if you pressure yourself to read the Bible, like it's not as, I don't know, I feel like I don't get a lot of stuff from it, so I didn't want to pressure them. I think it's 15 to 20 minutes a day of reading. So if we miss a day, we just continue from the last day that we were reading. So I just make sure to mark it. We have done a reading where it's been multiple times. I think I did one twice, maybe 2 days twice, because I didn't mark it. I forgot to mark it. So if you do it that way, just mark it and you'll be fine. But I'll go ahead and start reading. Once I get through the chapter, I'll answer your questions or say hi or anything like that. But because I record these lives and I put them on TikTok, I'm just going to go through the whole chapter, and then once I get to the next chapter, then we can chat and stuff. So if you don't see me answering your comment, it's not because I didn't see it and not because I'm ignoring you. I just go through the whole chapter so that way I can post it, and then we have one full video for each chapter. So Proverbs 17. Better is a dry morsel with quietness than a house full of feasting with strife. A wise servant will rule over a son who causes shame, and will share an inheritance among the brothers. The refining pot is for silver, and the furnace for gold, but the Lord tests the hearts. An evildoer gives heed to false lips. A liar listens eagerly to a spiteful tongue. He who mocks the poor reproaches his maker. He who is glad at calamity will not go unpunished. Children's children are the crown of old men, and the glory of children is their father. Excellent speech is not becoming to a fool, much less lying lips to a prince. A present is a precious stone in the eyes of its possessor, who wherever he turns, he prospers. He who covers a transgression seeks love, but he who repeats a matter separates friends. Rebuke is more effective for a wise man than 100 blows on a fool. An evil man seeks only rebellion, therefore a cruel messenger will be sent against him. Let a man meet a bear robbed of her cubs rather than a fool in his folly. Whoever rewards evil for good, evil will not depart from his house. The beginning of strife is like releasing water. Therefore, stop contention before a quarrel starts. He who justified the wicked and he who condemns the just, both of them alike are an abomination to the Lord. Why is there in the hand of a fool the purchase price of wisdom, since he has no heart for it? A friend loves at all times, but a brother is born for adversity. A man devoid of understanding shakes hands in a pledge and becomes surety for his friend. He who loves transgression loves strife, and he who exalts his gate seeks destruction. He who has a deceitful heart finds no good, and he who has a perverse tongue falls into evil. He who begets a scoffer does so to his sorrow, and the father of a fool has no joy. A merry heart does good like medicine, but a broken spirit dries the bones. A wicked man accepts a bribe behind the back to pervert the ways of justice. Wisdom is in the sight of him who has understanding, but the eyes of a fool are on the ends of the earth. A foolish son is a grief to his father, and bitterness to her who bore him. Also to punish the righteous is not good, nor to strike princes for their uprightness. He who has knowledge spares his words, and a man of understanding is of a calm spirit. Even a fool is counted wise when he holds his peace. When he shuts his lips, he is considered perceptive. So that was Proverbs 17. I have a study Bible. If you guys, and I always say these on these lives, if you guys do not have a study Bible, I have the Women's Study Bible that's made by Nelson. I believe that's the company. And it is so helpful because it goes to specific verses that, you may have questions on, or they're just like pretty, I don't want to say typical questions, but they're common. They're common questions that people may have. And I like to read them off. And I'll read some right now. I'm just going to write down the chapters that I'm going to read. Proverbs, I think I'm going to do 17, 18, and 19. I think that's what I'm going to read today. And sometimes things stand out. Sometimes this is not like this is me reading. So a lot of times people say like, oh, like what are you doing like on these lives? It's just me reading and kind of speaking out loud. A lot of times you guys will either say a question or give me insight, or you're like, oh, I didn't realize that verse said that, or I didn't realize it said that, or that it meant that. So that's kind of what I do on these lives. But what I really like is posting the actual read on my TikTok page, because then I can do just a whole playlist of just me reading. And if you read the Bible out loud, some people have different learners. I have learned so much just by reading the Bible out loud, more than I learned even just hearing the Bible, because I feel like hearing the Bible also helps too. I feel like that's helped me before, and this has been a whole different experience, reading the Bible out loud. I'm also writing the Bible, so like copying, because, and this was like years, I don't know how many years ago. I have it in like my notebook, and I just started writing it because I was writing my journal and everything was getting so sad, everything was getting so like I don't know, I was getting tired of what I was writing, and I'm like, well, I want to, and I had stopped journaling for a while. So I was thinking like, I can just write the Bible, because I was also getting stuck in this trap of starting at Genesis and reading Exodus and then stopping, or starting at Matthews and reading the Gospels and then stopping. And I could not get into a good routine. And I felt like I don't know if it's like OCD or something. I kept like reading it over and over and over again. And I'm like, okay, well, I've read Genesis many, many times, because that's where we start and that's where I was starting. And I felt like I couldn't finish the Bible. So I was like, I'll write the Bible and then I will know what I read and I could start from there. And then that got really tiring, because once you get into like some of the books, it's quite strenuous and quite repetitive. And that's when I started reading the Bible live on TikTok, and that has been very helpful. I feel like I have a broad knowledge of it, and now I can get more in-depth and I can study my Bible more and learn more. So I'll go ahead and read some of the commentary that I have, and feel free to write in the comments, share something that maybe that you know about Proverbs, or a verse that stands out for you. I love to hear what you guys have to say. If you just want to sit down and listen to me as well, that's fine. I know a lot of people just like to listen. I've had so many different people from different countries and different states in my lives that are just chilling and just listening, and I love that. I don't need everyone to be super active, but I really enjoy going on these lives. I just haven't been able to, and I'm been a little scared. If you have walked in the faith for a while, or even for a short while, you notice that there's a lot of trials, there's a lot of big things that happen. And in the last couple years reading this Bible, my life has been upside down and flipped inside out multiple times. So it's a little jarring to come on these lives and think, what's next? What's gonna, and I didn't want to live in fear. I don't want to live in fear like that. I'm scared, but you gain courage. Christ gives you courage, and courage is doing it scared. Sometimes we are scared, and there is a verse that says perfect love casts out fear, and a lot of people think that the opposite of love is hate. Like if the enemy can get you to hate, all this stuff, like that's it can stop you from loving. But it's fear that is really such a stronghold on people, and we see it a lot with anxiety. We see it a lot with a lot of issues in stress in our hearts and in our minds. And his love is what really takes that fear away and makes us feel chosen, feel loved, feel protected, feel like we're not just kind of just floating by in this world. We have a purpose. We have a, what's the word, like a calling. You have a calling on your life. You have a reason that you're here that is not necessarily like, I don't know, like I feel like we get these things that puts on our hearts, and sometimes we can find it, but the closer we get to God, he shows it to us. We may think it's one thing. Like I remember thinking like, man, like I just want to travel the world. I just want to go, and I wanted to sing and stuff. And oops, I forgot to turn off my notifications. I forgot how to do my notifications. Sorry if you guys hear the notifications. I don't see the button anymore for the notifications, but I look at it now, and the traveling part, like the singing part, like I love to do worship. I love to be in his presence in that way, and traveling, like I do a lot of traveling with missions, with disaster relief. That's been my heart. So I feel like we all get this like little piece of what we like and what we want to do and what we feel the most fulfilled in. And I think the Lord is just giving us like a little glimpse of what he wants for our lives. And then the closer we get to him, the more he's able to just kind of unwrap this gift and unwrap this plan that is for our lives. And sometimes it's not even what like we even think it's going to be. Like he has big plans. He has done things in my life that I never thought would happen, and I never, like, he's opened doors. I've been in rooms that I without like the pain that I've gone through, there are rooms that I never would have thought I would have been in, and speaking to people that I would never thought that I would speak to, and sharing with people that I never thought I would share with, especially on these lives. Like, I look at the charts and the analytics and the countries that it's in, I'm like, I'm shocked. But I think the Lord does amazing things with very ordinary people, and I love that because I'm just an ordinary person, and I am open and willing to what he has for my life. And I think he just kind of molds us and shapes us to what he wants us to do. I'm so sorry. I don't remember how to turn off the notifications. Let's see. Oh, I found it. Okay, sorry. I was like, I'm gonna get a whole bunch of, this always happens on my lives. I either get a phone call, I get text messages, I get a door, someone at my door. I've gotten so many crazy things. But there's a reason why. There's an opposition, or there's some sort of distraction, because I get distracted. Like, I remember last time when my doorbell rang and I'm like, who is at my doorbell? It was just a person door to door, but it threw me off. And sometimes it's like in those moments where like you feel like the Spirit is speaking and you're like, wow, that wasn't really like what I was gonna say or what I was even thinking. It just like came out, and I love that. That's what I love about these lives. So for verse 1, it talks about peace and contentment within are more important than material possessions. A home full of anger, however elegant, is a place of misery. And then for verse 9, there is a note that says, gossip destroys friendship. Silence is never more golden than when one refuses to discuss the weakness of a friend. And I love that. I feel like that has been something that I've been thinking a lot about with gossip. And I was actually talking to someone today, and we were talking about friendships and things that they were going through and gossip that they were listening through. And I think I did a post about it too. So it's such a, I don't know, it's such a weird topic, because I feel like some people are like, oh, well, I'm just praying for you. That's not gossip. Or I just like pray for this person because this is all the stuff they're going through. And it's like, like some people use prayer as a means for gossip, and some people use like, we talk about slander on Sunday. Yesterday at church, they were talking about slander. And, when you are trying to get people like on your side, or get people not to kind of like somebody else, or it just makes you look bad, and it's not something that we're called to do. The truth comes out. You don't have to defend yourself. You don't have to make things more exaggerated just so people can just empathize with you. Like the Lord sees all, and if people are doing you wrong, like the Lord sees that, and it's not you that needs to like go and share to the world, because He's got this. If you've done everything you can do in that situation, either talk to that person or kind of clear things up, like they have to deal with God. And I liked there's a verse here that I really liked. Maybe it's the next page. Maybe it was just a verse I was thinking of when it talks about, like the Lord fights for you. The Lord is the one that's in charge. Then for verse 14, there's a note here. It says, the quarrel begins like a tiny hole in a reservoir that releases only a trickle of water. If not stopped, however, the trickle becomes a flood. An issue of conflict should be dropped before a dispute can even begin. Nothing should be allowed to fester. This excellent advice will keep peace in all relationships, and that's something that we're all longing for, is peace. I feel like that is lacking in this world, and it's lacking because God is not in the midst. God is not there in people's lives. And people are doing it on their own terms. They're making their own decisions without the Lord being the one making the path. We're making our own paths and trying to do our own thing, and it doesn't work that way. We can plan it, but like the Lord is the one that really is leading us, and He's the only one in charge. He's the only one that can change anything. Our control is just we're in charge of having self-control. We're in charge of becoming more like him. And it's hard, and will take our lifetime for that to be more like him, because we're imperfect people, and we are gonna keep struggling, and we're gonna keep growing, and when we think we have it, something will come up, and we have to grow again, and we have to keep learning. And I kind of like that, because it's like we're unfinished in a sense, where I don't have to be the same today. I don't have to be the same yesterday, today. I get to improve. Like, I'm not stuck. I'm not stuck here. I'm not stuck in this state of mind, in this state of my walk. It may be like a slow climb. It may take me a lot more time to learn, his ways and his heart, and how he's molding me. Because sometimes we struggle, like when it comes to gossip. Sometimes we'll be put in that situation where if that's something that we struggle with and we have to overcome it, he's going to give us that opportunity to not gossip and to stop the gossip, and to I think we talked about that on Sunday too. We talked about gossip on Sunday, and somebody was I think our pastor was talking about someone complaining to him, and he was like, he pointed to his ears and he said, "These are not trash cans," and that's too true. We need to protect our eyes, our mouths, our ears, where we go. We need to be a holy sacrifice. We are in the likeness of God. We are his creation, and what comes out of our mouth is a reflection of him. It may not be who he wants us to reflect, but people are going to see us as Christians, and they're going to be like, "Oh, why do they do that? Why do they say that? Why?" There's this constant I feel like I don't have the words today. This constant when you have people watching you, it's this constant focus on you. And I don't mean it in a way where everyone's paying attention to me, but in a way it's everyone is watching. And especially unsaved people, they're always watching, and they're seeing, are you real? Are you a Christian? Are you living out what God says, or at least what they know of God? Because I think when it comes to people that are not Christian, they do have a small knowledge of who Christ is, but they don't have the full picture, because they don't have they haven't studied his word, or they haven't studied, and they may have a higher expectation of you, because they're "Oh, well, you're not perfect, so you're not a Christian." And that's not true. We're human, and we make mistakes, and we do a lot of silly, dumb things, but the Lord covers that, and he changes us, and he allows us to make that mistake over and over and over again until we get it right. Hello, how are you? For verse 17, I'm reading Proverbs. Thank you for the likes. I'm reading Proverbs 18 next, but I just did Proverbs 17. I know it's been a while. For verse 17, it says, "A true friend, like a brother, loves at all times in joy and sorrow, sickness and health, when communication is easy and when communication requires hard work." At all times means there are no times when one does not love a friend. A genuine friend multiplies the joys and divides the sorrows. I love the way they wrote that. And it's so true. We need, when you talk about, it's so crazy. I feel like I come on here in Proverbs and it's always talking about love. it always go back to love. I don't know if the Lord is trying to teach me love, or if he's just, when it comes to wisdom, you know, I mean, God is love. So in his wisdom, there's a lot of love that is displayed. For verse 21, it says, foolish sons and daughters bring bitterness, grief, sorrow, and a lack of joy to parents. Scoffer refers to one who is dull and thick-headed, while fool refers to the one who lacks spiritual perception and sensitivity. The child with such characteristics brings sorrow and brokenness to the parents. Thank you for the likes. There's one more that talks about verse 22, which it says, inner life affects physical well-being. And this is so true when it comes to stress, when it comes to happiness. When it, you know, I did a video today, and I think it was like, if you're depressed, or depression can't hit a moving target or something. It was really good. I like the way it was posted. But it says right here, attitude affects countenance. A broken, depressed spirit may be an attribute to many things: family strife, gossip, quarrels, or a foolish child. How can you have a merry heart in the midst of grief and brokenness? The Apostle Paul admonished us to trust God even when tragedy and even with, oh, thank you for the rose. Even within the tragedy, and choose to dwell on what is good in the person or situation. Oh, thank you for the sunglasses. That was cute. I like this because I think we tend to put a lot of focus on health when it comes to medicine. Oh, what was that? Thank you for the gold medal. That was cool. I don't think I've ever seen that one. That was cool. We put a lot of focus on health and medicine and working out, but a lot of times in our spirit, when our spirit is not okay, then that shows throughout our whole body. I know when I've been my most stressed out, that's when I get sick, that's when I have pains, that's when I can't get out of bed, and that has been because of my spirit. You know, I think, oh, thank you for the legend crown. My spirit is just not right, you know, and sometimes it could be just my focus is on my situation, and my focus is on all the problems in my life, and not on the one person who can fix my problems, who is in control and watching over me. Thank you for the rose. Hey, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. I don't know. I think it's just amazing, like to have a God that's so big pay attention to us when we're just so small, but he formed us and created us, and just, I don't know, it's so overwhelming. Like, I love the song Awesome God. I did a video on that, and it was just so overwhelming just thinking about all of his blessings, all of his closeness in the trials that I've been through, his love and protection and provision. It's been great. But I'm gonna go ahead and read the next chapter, and then I'll read some of the notes that I have on here. Proverbs 18. A man who isolates himself seeks his own desire. He rages against all wise judgment. A fool has no delight in understanding, but in expressing his own heart. When the wicked comes, contempt comes also, and with dishonor comes reproach. The words of a man's mouth are deep waters. The wellspring of wisdom is a flowing brook. It is not good to show partiality to the wicked, or to overthrow the righteous in judgment. A fool's lips enter into contention, and his mouth calls for blows. A fool's mouth is his destruction, and his lips are the snare of his soul. The words of a talebearer are like tasty trifles, and they go down into the inmost body. He who is slothful in his work is a brother to him who is a great destroyer. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run to it and are safe. The rich man's wealth is his strong city, and like a high wall in his own esteem. Before destruction, the heart of a man is haughty, and before honor is humility. He who answers a matter before he hears it, it is folly and shame to him. The spirit of a man will sustain him in sickness, but who can bear a broken spirit? The heart of a prudent acquires knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge. A man's gift makes room for him, and brings him before great men. The first one to plead his case seems right, until his neighbor comes and examines him. Casting lots causes contentions to cease, and keeps the mighty apart. A brother offended is harder to win than a strong city, and contentions are like the bars of a castle. A man's stomach shall be satisfied from the fruit of his mouth, from the produce of his lips he shall be filled. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. He who finds a wife finds a good thing, and obtains favor from the Lord. The poor man uses entreaties, but the rich answers roughly. A man who has friends must himself be friendly, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. I think that's a cool one, because sometimes it's surprising, like the people that you tend to be close to. There's like an overview of the chapters, and it says chapter 18 to chapter 19, verse 29. It says, pleasing the Lord in our interactions with others is the subject of these two chapters. These principles are applicable in our relationship with spouses, children, parents, colleagues, and friends. For verse 2, it says, the wise speak because they have something to say, fools because they have to say something. Oh, that's a good one. I'll read that again. The wise speak because they have something to say, fools because they have to say something. A fool's nature is revealed in his speech. He must air his personal opinions based on nothing but his own folly. He takes no pleasure in receiving wisdom. For verse 8, it says, a gossip's words are like tasty trifles, literally things greedily devoured. Slanderous words do not make a superficial impression, but penetrate into the innermost recesses of the listener's mind, where they are thoroughly digested. For verse 10 and 11, it says, the name of the Lord is often used in the Old Testament for God himself. The righteous or wise person makes the Lord his refuge. The rich falsely put their security in their wealth. The message is that God alone is a sure refuge. For verse 13, it says, warnings against forming hasty opinions are given. Listening to the other person's heart as well as his words is an important aspect of interpersonal relationships. And I like that one, because I think sometimes we can be really quick to hear one side of our friend's story and be like, oh, I'm on their side and they're on the right and they've done it, they've been wronged. And it can be very difficult to listen to someone else's story. Oh, for verse 21, it says, strong words, death and life, refer to the impact of speech on others. The Midrash notes that the evil tongue destroys 3 individuals: the slanderer, the slandered, and the listener. Obviously, the death caused by malicious backbiting, gossiping, or hard words is not a physical death, but is more deadly because it cannot always be seen, and sometimes people just hold to that a little bit more. You can't change that impression. I was talking today, and we're talking about someone who was being slandered, and how their friends were talking about them and to other friends, and then they became friends but no longer friends with this person. And a lot of times it was because something was said. You don't know what was said, but it was enough to change someone's mind, and sometimes that's very hard to get back. And it's very important to hold our tongue and to be very wise in what we say, because we don't know what people are going through. We don't know what they're struggling with, and we can be really harsh and judge and respond. Someone doesn't say hi to us, and we can take it on ourselves oh, they, they're this, or they're just snobby, or they just are full of themselves, but really they're just in their own troubles and their own minds and going through their own issues, and they have their own struggles, and we can be very hasty in thinking about that. For verse 22, it says, "A good wife is understood to be one pleasing to God and thus helpful to her husband and a joy to all." The parable structure adds emphasis on the second line of the verse explains the first. In other words, the finding of a wife is a sign of God's favor. That every wife is not a good wife is implicit here, and this is the good wife. Hebrew is tov, literally fortune or favor, whose price is far above rubies. Let's see, I can go. I'm just checking the time. I got a couple more minutes. I think I'll read, go straight into the next chapter. Proverbs 20. Sorry. I'm already in 20, guys. Proverbs 19. "Better is the poor who walks in his integrity than one who is perverse in his lips and is a fool. Also, it is not good for a soul to be without knowledge, and he sins who hastens with his feet. The foolishness of a man twists his way, and his heart frets against the Lord. Wealth makes many friends, but the poor is separated from his friend. A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who speaks lies will not escape. Many entreat the favor of nobility, and every man is a friend to one who gives gifts. All the brothers of the poor hate him. How much more do his friends go far from him? He may pursue them with words, yet they abandon him. He who gets wisdom loves his own soul. He who keeps understanding will find good. A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who speaks lies shall perish. Luxury is not fitting for a fool, much less for a servant to rule over princes. The discretion of a man makes him slow to anger, and his glory is to overlook a transgression. The king's wrath is like a roaring of a lion, but his favor is like the dew of the grass. A foolish son is the ruin of his father, and the contentions of a wife are a continual dripping. Houses and riches are an inheritance from the father, but a prudent wife is from the Lord. Laziness casts one into a deep sleep, and an idle person will suffer hunger. He who keeps the commandments keeps his soul, but he who is careless of his ways will die. He who has pity on the poor lends to the Lord, and he will pay back what he has given. Chasten your son while there is hope, and do not set your heart on his destruction. A man of great wrath will suffer punishment, for if you rescue him, you will have to do it again. Listen to counsel and receive instruction, that you may be wise in your latter days. There are many plans in a man's heart, nevertheless the Lord's counsel that will stand. What is desired in a man is kindness, and a poor man is better than a liar. The fear of the Lord leads to life, and he who has it will abide in satisfaction. He will not be visited with evil. A lazy man buries his hand in the bowl, and will not so much as bring it to his mouth again. Strike a scoffer, and the simple will become wary. Rebuke one who has understanding, and he will discern knowledge. He who mistreats his father and chases away his mother is a son who causes shame and brings reproach. Cease listening to instruction, my son, and you will stray from the words of knowledge. A disreputable witness scorns justice, and the mouth of the wicked devours iniquity. Judgments are prepared for scoffers, and beatings for the backs of fools. For verse 13, there's a note that says, the ingredients of a tragic, miserable home are presented here. A foolish son and a nagging wife. This is the first of 5 references in Proverbs to a quarrelsome wife, contentious is also translated quarrelsome. The continual dripping that drives one to distraction is like an irritating mosquito buzzing in the night. Sleep is almost found when the buzzing begins again. More than one person has been forced from his bed by a bug. Sorry, that was funny. A man can be driven to distraction or away by raindrops, a tiny bug, or nagging, contentious wife. An Arab proverb uses 3 words that rhyme to convey this point. 3 things makes the house uninhabitable: tack, leakage of rain; knack, a woman's nagging; and back, bugs. That sounds funny. Back. For verse 14, it says the prudent wife is a contrast to the contentious wife. A prudent wife is cautious and possesses good judgment and discretion. She is a good manager of her home. She is a woman of practical wisdom. Here the contrast is between wealth inherited and a gift from God. Unhappy marriages are not addressed. The writer confirms that God should be credited when the marriage is good. Oh, that's interesting. I never understood that where it says here the contrast is between the wealth inherited and a gift from God. Unhappy marriages are not addressed. Oh, that's something I have read that before, but that was interesting. That I don't know. That was interesting. I don't remember reading that. For verse 21, it says, God's plan stands. The book of Proverbs enables us to gain wisdom and take that knowledge and apply it in a practical way in our own lives. We can acquire wisdom by our own means, but our wisdom will always be finite compared to the limitless wisdom of the power of God. Because God is absolutely right, and because He has the necessary power to bring His plans or counsel about. He will always succeed. Our plans are many and uncertain, and the success of our plans depend on the will of God. Only the plans that God approves will succeed. And then there's one more note for verse 22 on kindness. Hebrew chesed, literally loving kindness. It is an attribute that people desire in others and God desires in us. Certainly every wife should know that kindness in her husband. Such kindness is an evidence of wisdom and should be demonstrated in godly lives. Anyone practicing unfailing loving kindness will draw others to himself. Loyal love is much greater value than wealth. Even poverty will be preferable over the absence of this unfailing love. A man's kindness is one of the things that enables his wife to trust him. I love the notes. There's so many notes that this Bible has. So if you're ever looking for a Bible, I recommend Nelson. And it's a study Bible. They have men's study Bible, couple study Bibles, women's study Bibles. It's very helpful. But I'm going to have to go because I have to download this now. And I will put it on YouTube and TikTok. Hopefully everything works out because I haven't done it for like 2 months. So I'm so thankful that you guys joined me. And I hope you guys have a blessed day. Thank you so much.